I mean, who could have ever thought that creature would have a destiny that we see today? But of course, if those extragalactic scientists watched for any length of time, they would have seen that that animal was different. The behavior of the creature revealed that it was intelligent. It was the 2-kilogram organ buried deep in our skulls that was the key to our survival. It gave us a tremendous memory. It conferred an insatiable curiosity and a very impressive inventiveness. And one of the first things that that human mind did was it invented an idea called the future. The future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists now is now, here. Because it invented an idea called the future. We alone, of all animals on the planet, realized very quickly, we can affect the future by what we do today. We could look ahead and see where the opportunities are, see where the dangers lay, and then choose accordingly and affect the future that we arrive at. That was a huge leap. And that was the key to our survival that gave us the advantage over all of the other impressive animals that we were born onto this planet in the company of. And it wasn't, they didn't sit there pondering like the thinker all the time. It was simply a matter of you're walking down a trail, you come to a branch in the trail, and you think, oh, 2 years ago I went down there and I found something good to eat. And I remembered about 6 months ago I went to the left and I ran into a saber-toothed tiger, so I'm going this way. But that's what we did. We looked ahead. We saw the opportunities, we saw the dangers, and we chose accordingly. Foresight was the great gift. I would say it's the very definition of what it was to be human and different. And you can see how important the idea of foresight is. I'm not a Christian or a Jew, but I have read some of the Bible, and if you look in the Bible, the parables there tell you the importance of foresight. You remember there was this kid named Joseph. Father was Jacob, and Jacob married Leah, and who was the other one? Someone must know the Bible. Anyway, Joseph was born from his second wife, who Jacob really liked better than the older sister. But and all the other, he was beautiful and bright, and all the other siblings were jealous of him. And you remember he got a coat of many colors, and that was the last straw, and they gave him to the Egyptians. Anyway, Joseph turned out to have very good ability to read dreams. And the Pharaoh came to trust him and depend on him. And at one point, Joseph said, look, I think there's a famine coming. So we better start telling the farmers to put away grain. And because the Pharaoh trusted him, he instructed the farmers to start storing grain. And sure enough, a famine came. The next year, the crops failed. And for 7 successive years, famine came. But because Joseph looked ahead, saw the dangers, and acted accordingly, they got through it. And it's the same thing. There was a guy there named Noah. Remember that one day a voice came and said, Noah, build a big boat. And he's going, I'm just a carpenter. What are you talking about? If I start building a boat, my friends will laugh at me and make fun of me. And the voice said, Noah, build that goddamn boat. And you not only build that boat, you start storing 2 of everything in there, because there's a flood coming. And because Noah paid attention and looked ahead, he built the boat and he survived. That was the most important feature of our species, I believe. So cut ahead then to the present time. We now have all of the amplified predictive capacity. We've got scientists and engineers and computers and telecommunications. And for over 40 years, the leading scientists of the world have been telling us that we're headed down a dangerous path. And I want to quote to you from a remarkable document called World Scientists' Warning to Humanity that came out in November of 1992. And when it's signed by more than 1,500 scientists from around the world, when you look at the names of these scientists, these are not second or third-rate scientists like me. These are the top scientists of the world. Over half of all Nobel Prize winners signed this document. So what were they warning of? Let me just quote some of their introduction. Human beings and the natural world are on a collision course. Human activities inflict harsh and often irreversible damage on the environment and on critical resources. If not checked, many of our current practices put at serious risk the future we wish for human society and may so alter the living world that it will be unable to sustain life in the manner that we know. Fundamental changes are urgent if we are to avoid the collision our present course will bring about. Better take this pretty seriously. Scientists aren't in the habit of writing such frightening things and releasing it to the public. They then go on and document where the collision is taking place: the atmosphere, water, ocean, soil, forests, species extinction, and population. And then the words grow even more bleak. No more than one or a few decades remain before the chance to avert the threats we now confront will be lost, and the prospects for humanity immeasurably diminished. We, the undersigned senior members of the world scientific community, hereby warn all of humanity of what lies ahead. A great change in our stewardship of the earth and life on it is required if vast human misery is to be avoided and our global home on this planet is not to be irretrievably mutilated. And then they go on and list the things, what we must do in order to avoid that collision. This is a terrifying document. But I'll tell you what was even more frightening than this document was the response of the media around the world. There was no response. Our so-called national network, the CBC, didn't report it. At that time, there was only the Globe and Mail. They didn't bother to report it. None of the major American television networks bothered to report it, and I know for a fact that both the New York Times and the Washington Post said this is not newsworthy and didn't bother to report it. So when over half of all Nobel Prize winners tell us that we may have as little as 10 years to avoid an absolute catastrophe, this is considered not newsworthy. I want to remind you, what do these media, including the New York Times and the CBC, what do they think is newsworthy? Olympics. You remember a guy named O.J. Simpson? You remember Bill and Monica? Princess Diana? Michael Jackson? The media were obsessed with these not for days or weeks, but for months and years. And I guarantee you, none of those people or what they were involved in will have any significance in terms of the future of humanity in the coming years. But that's what we focus our attention on. Someone said the Olympics, absolutely. And you watch in British Columbia how the Olympics are going to dominate our thinking and test our wallets in the coming years. Yes, but we avoid the warnings now. And what is the consequence of not using that human gift of foresight? For over 2 decades, the leading scientists of the United States have been warning that New Orleans was a disaster waiting to happen. Over 5 years ago, in an article in Scientific American, an article was written predicting exactly what happened with Katrina when it hit. But no one paid attention, no one wanted to act on it, and the consequences there for all of us to see. The question then is, why is it that we are now turning our backs on the very means by which we came to this place in time? We're turning our backs on this capacity to see, to look ahead and recognize opportunities and dangers and act accordingly.